This is the Chefpreneur podcast, where we inspire professional cooks to take on greater risk to build a personal chef business for themselves. Now, here's your host, Andres Hinojosa.
And welcome to another episode of the Chefpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Andres Hinojosa. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again today. I'm excited to bring you today's episode. We're going to make it nice and short and sweet, given that this is Thanksgiving week. And so happy Thanksgiving to all of you out there listening, if you're listening to this podcast when it's being released, right? So, and I'm here with my co-host, Brock Wagner. How you doing, Brock?
Well, hello. I am fantastic. How are you, Chef?
I'm doing good. Had a good weekend, and just excited to dive into today's podcast. Again, before I do that, I just want to say again, thank you so much for tuning in, all of you, the support from this podcast, especially our last episode. We got a lot of comments on that episode. And again, we just hope that it's bringing value to all of you out there. So thank you again for tuning in. Wherever you're tuning from, again, we're on Apple Podcasts or Apple iTunes. We're there on Spotify as well as Google Play. We're even on iHeartRadio now, which is pretty awesome. And you can always listen to this podcast on our YouTube channel, our Chefpreneur YouTube channel. So we're always uploading all of our newest episodes of the podcast on there as well. So without further ado, let's dive right into today's topic, which we're going to be discussing investing versus spending. All right. Now, this is one that I've been wanting to do for a while because it's kind of a simple, I guess you would say, topic. It's not something that's like super scientific, but I wanted to break down and get you guys to really change your mindset about how you look at things as you're spending money or as you're investing money. And there's a huge difference with investing and spending. And we're going to give you 3 key differences today and just kind of explain to you the difference between the two and what you should do to start to set yourself up for the future. And you're going to be a little surprised about what we're going to talk about today. It's not going to be about mutual funds or the S&P 500 or even 401ks and IRAs, even though
why not?
We are going to discuss a little bit of that, okay? But we're not going to give you advice on those types of things, but we are going to make basically some key differences between the two and giving you explanations. So without being further ado, I wanted to just talk a little bit about what the main difference between investing and spending is. And I'm going to start actually with number 3, okay? So we're going to actually work backwards on this one. But the biggest difference I find from spending versus investing is spending is basically you putting something out there and getting nothing in return, in short, okay? Investing is when you put something out there, your money, your time, and it returns something to you.
But Chef, if I buy shoes, I get shoes in return.
Yes, you get shoes, but shoes bring you nothing more than something that is just returning you to have some cool sneakers on. By the way, it's funny how you mentioned shoes because I don't know how many of you guys are listening to this podcast, but if you've spent $300 or more on a pair of shoes, that's crazy. Even though, I mean, yes, there's people that are millionaires, billionaires, they can spend whatever they want on shoes, I guess. But again, it's like one of those things where why would you spend so much money on something that really is only going to give you, I guess, a look or they're comfortable, but they're going to wear down over time. I
look so cool in them.
Yeah, not really. but yeah, so no, but that's in short what the first big key difference is spending is really giving you not much in return. Again, you're going to get something materialistic from it. You're going to get something where, again, you can wear it or whatever. But it's not really going to return something to you as far as up it in value or raise it in value, right? So again, as we're talking about investing, and I'm going to actually let Brock talk a little bit about some of the investing that's out there as well. And again, we're not here to be financial advisors. We're not here to be investment advisors for you and your money. However, we just wanted to really give you the concept of investing versus spending because so many of you, for instance, we have programs that can help you build your business. And some of you don't look at that as an investment. I'm just giving you guys just a simple example on that. And you look at it as like, oh, I can't afford that. I can't spend that, right? But the thing is if you look around and you take evaluation of everything you put money into, probably 95, 99% of it is not going to return something, right? It's going to be sneakers. It's going to be a t-shirt. Yes, you need to clothe yourself. Yes, you need to have shoes on, usually most places you go. But again, it's not going to return you more money. It's not going to return something to you, okay? So what are some of the things out there that people are investing in? And again, we're just really using these as an examples to really open up your mind and see the difference between the two. One of the big ones out there right now has to be crypto. Wouldn't you say, Brock?
Oh yeah.
Cryptocurrency is huge.
I'm in crypto.
Brock's in crypto. I'm not. He could talk a little bit more about this, but give us a general idea of why you think people are investing in crypto.
Crypto is just, it's super trendy right now. And the problem is that you jump on Instagram, you jump on Facebook, you're out there on the internet, you're seeing all these people getting rich off crypto. You know why? You know why they're getting rich? Is because they're actually not just investing their money, they're investing their time. The only way that you're going to actually produce a return on something is if you invest your time in it. I'm sorry, but you're not gonna find yourself getting wildly rich off crypto if you're just playing $200 into crypto and then you're expecting to make $100,000 or something ridiculous like that. Like if you
overnight.
Overnight.
Wait, so you can't be a millionaire overnight on crypto?
Oh, haven't you heard?
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, absolutely you can. If you play it like the lottery, people, no, you can't. You're not going to get it. A lot of people, they're out there, and it maybe thinks that they can become rich off that overnight. It's not luck. Like these people they're understanding what crypto is. They're understanding the market. They are in it. They're getting educated. So they're investing their time and understanding that because that's what they're pursuing.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not pursuing crypto, I don't pursue crypto. Right. Back then it was like, hey, I was kind of interested in it, learned a little bit about it and I put a little bit of money in there. But there's nothing really happening. I mean, you're not making tons of money off of it because I'm not investing my time in learning about crypto.
Yeah.
So unless you're planning on investing your time to educate yourself, it's wasteful. It's wasteful and it's super volatile. And that goes with anything, even if you're investing in traditional things like mutual funds, stocks, things like that. Unless you understand it, there's really going to be no expectation to getting much in return.
That's good. That's really good. And the reason why I believe you're saying that too, Brock, and for everybody who's listening, it's funny how Dave Ramsey, we talk about Dave Ramsey a lot. We love Dave Ramsey. And he talks about not investing in something that you don't know, right? If you don't know what it is, don't probably invest in it because it's going to be hard for you to understand where you are, where you're going, and really understand how whatever vehicle you're putting your money into, how it's going to work for you and how it's going to return. And there's nothing wrong with doing, trading crypto. There's nothing wrong with investing in crypto if you know exactly what you're doing. And that's really what you study and you really look at it for that way. But I will say the principle's there that if you're doing it properly, right, you're putting money into something that's going to return you something. Again, we just talked about spending is giving you nothing in return and investing is returning you something, right? Now, this also, like Brock said, is also about time, what you invest your time into. I bet you if we all took an inventory of where our money goes and where our time goes, we'd be shocked. If you actually wrote down everything that you actually bought that month and how many of those things did not produce wealth for you or got you or brought you money back, right? It's probably staggering. It's probably close to 100%, to be honest. Maybe some of you are like, well, I have a job and they take a little bit out for 401k. Okay, so great. You're taking out, whatever, 8, 10, 12% out of your check. But other than that, it's like a lot of the things that we buy are just either liabilities or expendables, right? Even shoes, right? Even shoes. Now, I'm a big watch guy. I love watches. For anybody who knows me, I love watches. I have a small collection of watches. Okay, I'm not have some crazy huge collection. And my collection totals like probably $2,500. It's not crazy. But it's like the watches that I do buy are not going to really go down in value. Now, are they going to make me money? No. Is it a good investment to park all my money into and look at the future of being wealthy for my kids and my grandkids? Absolutely not. Right. But that's the thing is that even though watches can be an investment, there's a lot of watches that can be an investment, but there's 98% of them are not, right? And that's the thing. That's the difference is you have to start to understand what spending versus investing is. And again, it's not just with your money, it's with your time. How much time are you wasting on YouTube when you're not learning something, right? Now there's nothing wrong with getting a belly laugh and having some entertainment, but what are you really spending your time? Some of you will tell me, oh, I don't have the time to do this. I don't have the time to start my business. I don't have the time to do this. And really, if you take a time inventory, I bet you can make a lot of time with you investing your time, okay? Investing or spending, quote unquote, your time. What are you spending your time on? Are you investing your time or are you spending your time, right? So it's a huge difference. So that's the first key difference is just, spending is nothing in return. Investing returns you something. Now, the second thing is spending is usually more of a short-term outcome. It's usually a short-term outcome and investing is usually a long-term outcome. All right, now that's not always the case. Again, like we talked about, there's people that have invested in cryptocurrency that have invested and 1 year later, they doubled, tripled their money, right? There's other people that invested and a year later, they lost double or triple their money.
Yeah, or the next week or the next day.
Or the next week or the next day. So again, we're looking at data and numbers, okay? For the biggest percentage and the majority of spending is a very short-term thing. For instance, a car. Okay. A car is a perfect example. And I'm going to bring Brock in on this one. But, if you guys ever heard of Mr. Wonderful, the big Shark Tank guy, Kevin, right? He literally says that buying any kind of car realistically is pretty much a waste of money. Yeah. Just a straight waste of money, right? Now, this guy flies around on private planes. He's worth over $350 million. And he's like, if you buy a Ferrari, unless you're buying a 19, again, remember we said there's some items that you could spend money on and very few of that same item you can invest. Now, there is some Ferraris that you buy as an investment. You buy them for $500,000 at some auction and that 3-4 years from now are going to be worth double and you can drive them at the same time. Hey, it's cool. It's a cool investment. You get to drive your investment. But again, he's talking about a majority of people that are out there. They're buying a Mercedes, they're buying a BMW for $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. It's a liability. It is not an investment. The car is going to go down in value and the car is actually going to stop working down the road. So again, it's a short-term outcome. You're spending something, you're getting some enjoyment until your BMW looks old. 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years later, until your shoes get worn out, until the clothes you bought get worn out, right? Or until that cheeseburger you just bought is in your stomach and comes out the other way.
Well, that's actually perfect. That's perfect because it makes me think of when you are spending, like, for all the sneakerheads out there or the crypto kings, the people who are doing that, they're investing because they have an expectation and understanding of what it is that's returning to them. So not only are you having to look at what you're spending or investing in, you're looking at what is it that's going to return to me. Because we're not, like Andre said, we're not just talking about money here. We're talking about time, right? And a lot of times the return is not necessarily money. So think about all of you who are listening to this who invested money and time in getting educated from a classic culinary institution, right? And you have that formal training. Are you getting a return of money right away, or are you building your skill set, right? And being able to then use that skill set, use what you learned to do something else. Now that can be returning money maybe later on. A lot of times, unfortunately though, for a lot of you, it's in the form of a job. And so you're investing again, even more time, and the return on that is very little compared to other ways of doing things like owning your own business, which is, again, it's an investment of time and there's money, but your return and your upside is far greater. It's got way more potential. So it all just depends on what you are looking at getting in return and what your expectation is. Exactly.
And that's great, Brock. That's very well said. Because that's the thing is, how many of us in this industry, in the culinary industry, have invested in culinary school and paid a lot of money? I mean, I could personally speak that. Mine was over $75,000. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And to be honest, when I came out of school, it was not like I was making six figures by far. I was basically an hourly line cook for a long time. And I worked myself up into 6 figures, but I was working like 14 hours a day at that point. And so actually, this is a little side note. This is just a little side training. If any of you guys are making a good salary right now in this industry as a chef or as a sous chef or executive chef or chef de cuisine, you're going to take your salary and divide it by the amount of hours that you're actually working. And I guarantee you're going to be shocked at what your hourly wage is. And that's what I did. That's where it scared the crap out of me, because I was working 6 days a week. So like Brock said, it's like I spent all this money in culinary school. I had to then quote unquote pay my dues, right? To this industry, how they say pay your dues. And which is another, we've already talked about that in another podcast. Maybe we should do another one about that, but paying your dues. I hate that term because it's like, whose dues are you paying? Like,
didn't you already pay him when you
yeah, didn't you already pay him? Yeah, exactly. like now we're talking about craftsmanship and learning and things like that. Yeah, it takes years sometimes to master some of these things. Like we've talked about before on this podcast as well. Like my grandmother who passed away, God bless her soul, my yaya, the one who encouraged me to cook. She was an amazing cook. Again, she never went to culinary school. I mean, she just cooked at home, but her bread was so dialed in, and she used the one little cup that was a teacup and didn't have any measurements, like I said, and used her hand for salt and all these types of things. But she made it for 65 years of her life. I mean, she's a craftsman. She can make that bread blindfolded. So yes, there's things that take time, and that's also an investment, right? She's a master baker when it comes to baking her pan amasado bread. But again, most of us, we automatically assume that even culinary school and school is going to be a great return on investment. And that actually leads us to our third difference is spending usually has little to no plan, right? Spending, people are like, when they're at the grocery store or when you're, out shopping at the mall, how many people are like, oh, it was a compulsive, what do they call it?
Yeah.
A compulsive buy, right? Mm-hmm. Like I was just there and those shoes were screaming to me. And that sweater vest was like, oh, that's my style, and you buy it for $100.
My dad always used to say it's that money's burning a hole in your pocket.
Exactly.
Like
money's burning a hole in your pocket. Yeah. And so with spending, there's little to no plan, right? It takes usually 2 seconds to figure something out and be like, I want to do this. Whereas investing, it takes a plan. And going back to everything we've talked about, we don't care if you're talking about crypto. We don't care if you're talking about your time. We're talking about 401ks. We don't care if you're talking about watches or cars and all these types of things that could either be spending or investing, okay? Majority of people that make the stock market work for them, they have a plan. They go in there, they day trade. If they don't see a setup, they don't make a move. Right? Same with currency. I used to currency trade for actually a long time, for several years. My dad was really good at it, and he kind of taught me how to trade Forex. And holy crap, it's scary when you make money and you follow the plan. But there are some times where I was trading and it was really hard mentally. And again, I'm going to tell you this, it was really hard mentally to be a day trader because you might have a losing streak for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then you have a winning streak for 3 days, but that winning streak it overshadows your losses. And in that case, you're gaining more than you're losing, and therefore you're actually winning. But it's really hard psychologically when you have 2 weeks worth of losing. But there was still a plan. I never veered from the plan. That was the hardest thing. And honestly, I couldn't really stick to it. In fact, I lost my shirt on it at the end because I actually punched a number on wrong, and I lost like $28,000 in a little over 3 hours. And it was like, holy crap. But I wasn't paying attention. I was working the plan. I was working outside of the plan, outside of the times I should have been trading, and I got bit in the tail. With spending, it's usually compulsive. It's impulsive. Like you just spend. Or people are like, oh, I want to invest in crypto. What do? They go sign up for Coinbase. They start throwing money into something, into Bitcoin, and then next week it goes down 18%.
Yeah, or they ask their friends. They're like, hey, I heard that you're in crypto. Like, what's something good to get into? And they give you their advice, but it's like you're asking another amateur.
Exactly. And there's no plan unless your friend is like legitimately a pro crypto trader, which I doubt they are. But that's the whole thing, is that you guys have to understand these three key differences. So I'm going to just kind of recap on them again. When it comes to spending and when it comes to investing, spending gives you nothing in return. Usually it's very short-lived. It gives you nothing in return. Okay. Investing returns you something. It compounds either your money, it compounds your time, it brings you back something. Even starting a business, and I'll get to that here in a minute, actually. It's a nice little side note that I'm going to give you guys. Number 2, spending. Usually there's a short-term outcome and investing is a long-term outcome. And then leading into the third key difference, spending is little to no plan, and investing, there's some level of plan behind it. Okay. And that's going to lead me into this. There's so much that you can invest your time and money into, okay? There's a million products, financial products, things that go up in value, right? Again, we're not saying that you can't make money on crypto. We're not saying you can't make money in mutual funds and 401k. We're not saying you can't make money in cars or watches or anything that's valuable. You can, right? As long as you have a plan behind it, and as long as you're actually following a plan that works, and you're spending time investing not only the money, but the amount of time it takes to even learn that investment. But here's what I'm going to tell you guys. This is how we're going to end the podcast today. We want you to really believe that you yourself, you're the number one investment you should be investing into.
Amen.
Because you learning new skills, you learning new plans, right? Again, crypto means nothing to just dump money in crypto. But if you invest in yourself, in learning how to run a business. See, I love entrepreneurship because in my opinion, there's nothing that returns more money and freedom and time than being an entrepreneur. In fact, if you guys have ever read the book by Robert Kiyosaki, right? And it talks about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it talks about the 4 quadrants. And you start out as an employee, second quadrant is self-employed. Then you flip over to the right side of the little kind of 4 sector little, cross there, and you go into business owner, okay? And then from business owner, you move into investor. Why? Why do you think that is? Because a majority of people, if you're self-employed or if you're an employee, you're still technically working and you're putting usually most of the time in exchange for money. As a business owner, okay, very key. As a business owner, you're allowing the business to return you money. So all that time and money you first invested in building the business, now it's returning something to you. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is the reason why entrepreneurs start to be able to invest, the reason why the people on Shark Tank have money to invest in other businesses is because they spent a lot of hard work and time and busted their ASS to get their business to produce for them.
And invested in themselves.
First. To get there, whether it was a mentor, whether it was somebody to guide them, whether it was whatever, even investing in your team, investing in different people that can help you get to where you want to go. And then all of a sudden their business works. They start having more time, more money. And then at the last point, they allow their money to make them money.
And here's the difference in something that really shifted my perspective when it came to spending versus investing. I remember very vividly when I heard this saying about investing and what it meant. And when these Shark Tank individuals, when people who are really wealthy and successful look at spending their money, because it's the same thing, right? Like investing is spending, but there's those key differences. Mm-hmm. When they looked at the quote unquote investing, they weren't looking at what they were spending. They were looking at what is coming back to me.
Exactly.
Right. So if they make a $50,000 investment in something, it's because they know that in 4 years, they could be making $500,000 and have a 10x investment. And that's that long-term outcome. And would you rather have that $500,000, 10 years from now? Or would you rather spend the money on some sneakers and have nothing and have nothing to show for it 10 years from now?
Nothing but some enjoyment and looking cool in front of people.
Yeah, maybe some pictures.
Honestly, you probably don't even know. Yeah, trying to look cool and pose on Instagram for people that you don't even know that follow you just to try to gain traction, right? So here's the deal. We want to challenge you on this podcast right now. We want to challenge you to start investing your time and your money in yourself. To what? To learn new skills and to build something that's going to return something to you. And again, we believe that that's in a business, right? We teach on this podcast how to start your personal chef business. This is what Chefpreneur is all about, right? There's literally entrepreneur in the name of our movement, our community. Chef and entrepreneur combined is Chefpreneur, right? And so it's really key for you guys to understand, what are you really spending your money on, right? When all of you guys tell me, oh, I don't have any money to invest in my business, it's like, what are you spending your money on? Because you're definitely not investing it. Because if you were investing it, you'd have money to invest more. Real simple. What are you spending your time on? Really? I don't even want to get into that one, because you guys will probably know exactly what you spend your time on and how badly you probably spend most of your time. And again, I'm not trying to sit here to demean anybody. We all fall in this trap. We all fall in this category. Oh, yeah. None of us spend our time perfectly every single second of every single day, right? But if you spend a majority of your time going towards your goals, right? Going towards something that's going to return you something. I spend a lot of time on my business. In the beginning, I spent so much time, and now I spend very little time on my personal chef business, and it brings in finances for me to pay my bills and live Now I spend a lot of time in the Chefpreneur movement, coaching and mentoring all of you. And I know it's been paying me dividends, not only soon financially and also with freedom, but at the same time also giving you guys the ability and seeing the results you guys have. And so again, here in the Chefpreneur movement, we're motivating, we're educating you, we're inspiring you guys to take a stand for your personal freedom. Break those chains of a job, just of a broke job, to build your own personal chef business. We believe the future is yours and you can put it in your own hands. Like I said earlier in this podcast, guys, if you guys are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, head over to YouTube, type in Chefpreneur. You're going to see my cool little face pop up. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell to make sure you get notified every time we release a podcast or a new video. And if you guys haven't joined our Chefpreneur Movement group, okay, this is the Chefpreneur Movement group. It's a Facebook group. It's completely free. It's the go-to resources where chefs and cooks just like yourself can learn about planning, building, and starting and running your own personal chef business. We're really in the group. We're really connecting you with other like-minded chefs and cooks who really want to take their next step in their careers and start investing their time and money into themselves to grow themselves, to be able to have that freedom that they're looking for. And I was going to kind of talk about this earlier as well, that when you're investing your time and finances into something, not only do you want to get a return up front, right? Like Brock said, you want to get a good ROI, as they call it, right? And if you don't know what ROI is, return on investment. We really believe investing in yourself is the number one thing you can do. It trumps anything with mutual funds, crypto, I mean, you name it. I really believe that. I've seen it in my own life. I've invested so much time and money into myself and learning, and it's here I am on a podcast telling you how to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember, not that I agree the most with him or think that he's the best at, all of his advice. But I remember watching this Grant Cardone video, and this kid asked him, hey man, I have $2,000. How should I invest it? And Grant Cardone, he was pretty straight with him. He said, well, you're broke. And the kid's like, well, no, I've got $2,000. He's like, yeah, you're broke.
You're broke.
And he goes, the best thing you can do with that is invest it back into yourself. Learn a skill, get some knowledge, get some understanding of something, build up your skill set, your everything about you, build it up so that it returns to you, because then you're able to turn that skill and use it to make money, right? Exactly. And to make more money. And the best time to do that, it was honestly for all of us, like they say, the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. So if you guys are looking at your bank account, if you've got little to no money, that's the best time to invest it back in yourself. Because you're already, honestly, you're already broke. And trust me, I can say it because I've been there. And I've turned around and I've done the same thing. I took that money, the little that I had, and I invested into something that educated me. And then I was able to use that to turn around and to provide to other people and to serve other people. And when you do that, you make money, whether it isn't a job, whether it isn't a business. The best time to do it is now.
Absolutely. And guys, we are having our next retreat, our third annual Chefpreneur Mastermind Retreat. This is where you'll be learning the fundamentals that are needed to grow your personal chef business so you can create a blueprint to follow. Like we said, investing is following a plan. We create a blueprint at this retreat for you to follow when you're at the retreat and even after you leave the retreat. And the biggest thing about this retreat is it's an investment. It's an investment in your business. And this investment, for what the investment is in the retreat, it's laughable to not only what you get in value, but also what it's going to return to you in your business, right? And like Brock said, if you're broke, if you feel like you have no money to invest, how do you change that for the future, right? How do you change it? That's like saying, oh, I don't have any lemons. But if you would have planted a lemon tree 5 years ago, you would have lemons. You wouldn't need to say I have no lemons, right? So you need to plant those seeds. You need to invest and plant those seeds in yourself now so that you are not broke in the future. It's really simple. You can't have one without the other. I'm so sorry to tell you that. You cannot have one without the other. So if you want to come get blown away, spend an entire week with like-minded chefs that are sitting here and they've said, you know what, I'm investing in myself. I'm going all in for 2022. Come to the Chefpreneur Mastermind Retreat. We only have a few spots left as we're recording this podcast. We need you to take action. Go ahead and text the word retreat to 619-304-6496. Again, that's text the word retreat to 619-304-6496. If you want to join us and other like-minded chefs, we're going to teach you everything you need to know about building a successful personal chef business that could be producing 10,000 plus a month for you in a matter of a few months. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Now, again, there's you have to put in the work as well. However, we give you the easiest steps and blueprint to follow. So join us at the Chefpreneur Mastermind Retreat. We hope to see you guys there. Hey, thank you guys so much again for tuning in the podcast this week. We love you very, very much. We can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Take care. Have a great one and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you for listening to the Chefpreneur podcast, where we want to educate, motivate, and inspire as many chefs to become their own boss. Please subscribe to the podcast and join us every week to be part of the movement. To sign up for our free online web class, visit thechefpreneurwebinar.com.